Welcome to the Allocate Business Podcast, a show all about helping you as a retailer, brand or creative understand the actual business side of running your business. I offer straightforward practical advice about the nitty-gritty of making money from your creative passion. We will be covering bite-sized business and marketing lessons as well as interviews with experts and trailblazers in the fashion, homewares and design industries. My name is Melissa Robbins. I'm a business coach, colour-loving, non-coffee drinking Melburnian. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to today's episode. I am super excited to have joining me today, Amy Bett, who is a Profit First professional. Now, this is something that I know lots of my clients, lots of people listening will be ready to listen to Amy and be so excited to hear some ways for you to help them, hopefully, figure out how to have more profit in their business. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about this conversation today.
Now, tell me a little bit about what it means to be a Profit First professional. Yeah,
sure. So for anybody that doesn't know what Profit First is, it's a book that was created by the author and entrepreneur Mark Michalowicz. Mm-hmm. He basically simplified cash flows for business owners in a way that people could actually understand and manage their cash flow. And what he really realized was that people can read the book, but oftentimes it's hard to implement by themselves, particularly if they don't know how to tailor it to their own business. And that was a really big barrier for business owners' success with the method. And so what he did was he created a certification, a Profit First professional certification, and there's actually an organisation in Australia. So there's a whole organisation of Profit First professionals that's made up of accountants, bookkeepers and coaches. And so we're really on a mission to coach and train businesses all over Australia to actually get in control of their cash flow.
Yes, and I'm sure you've got some stats in about that as well, that it's obviously one of the biggest issues with businesses. It might not be, the product or people actually buying their product, buying and selling, but how to actually manage that cash flow.
Yeah, it's like 80% of businesses that failed because of a cash flow problem. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, when I learnt that statistic, I was like, oh my goodness, this is really high, and it's actually really preventable.
Yeah.
And but the problem is there's not a lot of great financial knowledge out there, and particularly knowledge that is really, I guess, digestible to the business owner itself. Yeah. And what Profit First is great at is educating business owners in a way that you don't have to have your head in the numbers every day. You just needed to know a simple process of downloading your reports and interpreting it, so understanding how your business is performing. And then on the other hand, having a cash flow system in place, which is a series of bank accounts set up so that you can separate your cash flow and have that control and visibility in there every day.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the barriers as well, is like people get scared of, I just don't know, I'm not a numbers person, or it's not my thing, it's too complicated. So yeah, having a simplified system, and as you say, like setting it up right from the start, so then you've got more control over what's going on.
Yeah, I know myself, I only came into this place because I failed myself with cash flow, and it was a big problem for me where I realized that there's no way I'm going to be a successful business owner if I don't get this right, because I was certainly good at what I did, which was corporate event management. I was organizing these huge events, which were a real success, but the cash flow side of it was crippling me. And I'm like, I will never be a successful business owner unless I sort this out. But not only just from the actual dollars, but also the stress and just not understanding the finances it would just trip me up all the time.
Yeah. And I think it's like you being surprised because you don't know what things are coming, or you haven't allocated money. Like you've got all this, if you are just using obviously a regular system, you've got your account to maybe set up one business account, and then you've got all your money coming in there, and you obviously want to spend it in certain ways or have to spend it in certain ways. But by actually having the different bank accounts, which I'll get you to go into in a moment, you've got things allocated already. So it makes it easier for you to preempt what you might need to spend or might need to allocate money to.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the biggest problems that business owners have when they've got their money all lumped together is a false sense of security, thinking that they have more money than they do.
Yeah.
When there's money sitting there, they think, oh, great, I've got money to spend. So they go and spend it on whatever they need, like whether it's new stuff or marketing or whatever. But actually they're spending their tax or their owner's pay or their profit a lot of the time. And so you can just get caught in this vicious cycle, particularly if you've set your business up in a way that your expenses are then unsustainable. But this really shines a light on all of that, and the numbers are so black and white. They tell the true story. So the good thing about it is if you are in that situation, you can actually, make the changes necessary to get back in the place that you need to be.
Yeah, and one of the reasons when I saw your email and I wanted to get you on board, it's perfect time of year as well for in Australia. It's end of financial year, so how about for the next year, setting yourself up in the right way. If you've had issues, or if you've got to the end of the year and gone off, I've got to pay this tax bill or a BAS or whatever it might be, and now I'm just struggling. And I guess that's a thing too, like, making sure that profit is first. It's not allocated last. And that is obviously key to what they talk about in the book as well.
Yeah. And a lot of business owners think it's sometimes easier said than done, but you can start with just putting 1% of profit aside. And you're right, this is the perfect time to be thinking about your finances and looking at the last financial year and really understanding, okay, how did I go? Was there any profit left over? Or, is the cash flow coming in that I need to sustain how the business is currently going? And then setting new goals and a new plan in place. There's nothing like fresh new year energy, even though it's a new financial year, but a fresh new energy to help you to, get you into the mindset but also put you in the place to tick off those goals.
Yeah, and think and look at, how can I do things better? How can I manage the business better? And I think that's one of the things I emphasize is that you need to work on the business as well, because if you're just spending all your time in and then, you get your accountant to do things at the end of financial year, you're like, oh, that doesn't look good, or this is not what I thought it was going to be, or why have I got all these sales but actually no, money left at the end of the day? So yeah, really working on the business and understanding what's going on is going to help you not just now, but obviously in the future as well.
Yeah. After failing myself in my first business and then coming into this work, I really realized how important it is as the business owner to understand your own numbers. And, we do leave it to our bookkeeper or our accountant to tell us how we're performing at the end of the quarter or the end of the financial year. And I've realized that, and I don't say this in a condescending way because I've been in the other place, so trust me. But it is our responsibility to know these numbers, because how are we making the right decisions and taking the business in the right way if we don't understand? And often we put blame on our bookkeepers and our accountants, but they're not the ones spending the money, and they're not the ones that are actually, making the decisions on a day-to-day level. They're just basically telling you how things have gone. And how much tax you need to pay, basically.
Exactly.
So, I think through hardships, I've learned that knowing your numbers, but then also really investing into marketing and getting the sales in the door are the two real fundamental things that we need to take care of as a business owner.
Yep, absolutely. And so what are the minimum number of bank accounts? Like, how does it work, Profit First? Like, give us a little rundown of, the system as a general.
Yeah, sure. So the basic method of Profit First is 5 bank accounts. So you have a separate income account. So that's an account where all of the revenue of the business comes into and nothing else comes out of that bank account. So no expenses, no direct debits, nothing. It's just to hold that revenue. And then we have 4 other bank accounts, which is a profit account, an owner's pay account, a tax account, and an operating expenses account. And then every week or fortnight or month, depending on how often you need the cash flow, you basically transfer or allocate the money from your income account into those other bank accounts we use average percentages. So the reason that we do that is because it can be really difficult for business owners to understand how much money they need in every area, because cash flow can be so up and down every month.
Yeah.
So if you look at, say, the last 12 months or the last 6 months and understand what your average income is and your average expenses, then it's easy to start with those percentages and then tailor it as you keep going.
Yeah. And even on that, like a lot of people I talk to, and I was like this when I had my business earlier on, my retail store, you leave yourself last as well, and you never get anything left over. So that is one of the crucial things I talk about to people is, and I know the Profit First system, and I use it a little bit, not fully myself, but I think I have 4 bank accounts.
Awesome.
But one of the things is I always say, just pay yourself something, like actually have something, even if you're not turning over a lot yet, like if it is based on that percentage factor, have something going towards all your hard work and all your effort, because it makes it a lot easier to turn up and show up if you're actually getting something for that.
Oh my goodness, yes. And I think a lot of that comes also from the true Aussie nature of we take care of everyone. Like we'd always pay our suppliers and we'd always pay our team before we pay ourselves, which is so noble. It's awesome that we are like that. But at the same time, we can't operate like that forever. And if we're not taking care of ourselves and paying ourselves, the business isn't going to last, because the truth is everything costs money. You know, we need money to survive. We need money to pay the team. We need money. So we need to really sometimes look at it and make some hard decisions and go, okay, well, if I can't pay myself, then that means that things aren't working and we need to make some changes to pay ourselves. So do we need to increase revenue, cut expenses? Like what actually needs to happen to make that happen?
Yeah, I love that. And it is just such a and as you say, like it's not a set amount for every business. It is just based on percentages, and obviously that evolves, as you said, like you start to figure out where you should make tweaks and changes. Is that what happens?
Yeah, so we have set percentages in terms of like what the standard healthy percentages look like, but not every business is going to fit in that box at all. So what we need to do is you need to do a cash flow analysis on your business, which honestly takes about 20 minutes. It's not a huge process. And then understand how you're sitting and then work out what your percentages are. So it's better to tailor it to your business and then make changes over time to get you into the right place that you want to be in, rather than being like, no, I'm just going to set it at 30% expenses and then, you know, we're just going to make that work, because it won't work for you. Because if your business isn't trading that way, it's going to be a very quick insight that it's just falling over and you're going to have to be transferring money everywhere. So we don't need to be perfect. We just need to understand your numbers, set your percentages, and then move forward from there.
Yeah. In regards, and I was just going to say on that, like nothing feels better than actually getting a tax bill or a GST or BAS bill than looking at your tax account and going, oh, all the money is there allocated. And it's just the feeling of that is beyond anything. That's definitely something, this evolution of my business now as I work compared to previous, it feels so much better. And it also feels positive that you're paying tax almost, because that obviously means you're making an income and making money. And it also means, but it also feels good knowing that it's just sitting there waiting to be used.
Yeah, I still cry. I'm not even joking. I still cry when business owners tell me that for the first time in their whole business history, they've got the money sitting there, because I just remember how devastating it was to me when every quarter I feel like I'm finally getting ahead and then I'd get lumped with this huge tax bill. And I'm like, where the hell is that money coming from? And it just, you know, to me, it was a real problem back in the day. And so that's when people even start with Profit First, and they're like, they feel overwhelmed because they think it's too much to implement at once. I'm like, great, start small. Just, have a profit account separate and a tax account separate. Start putting your tax in there, this percentage, and then they see the effect that even has on their business, and they get into the rhythm of doing the process, and they're like, oh my God, like this is actually easy to start with. But 2, how have I never done this before? Because now that tax is sitting there. And it improves their confidence and the way that the confidence that they feel in their business too.
Yeah. And so is that how you recommend, people actually start to get in control? Like they start somewhere, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely better to start somewhere than nowhere. So it depends on the person's personality. So if you're like let's just do this and go all in, then I do actually recommend that you just open up the 5 bank accounts straight away. Yeah. If you've got a product-based business, by the way, you actually need 6 bank accounts, because if you're spending more money, more than 20% of your revenue on cost of sales, like cost of products and materials or
which
subcontractors, which most people would, definitely. So you actually have a separate bank account for that as well. And that's actually awesome, because then it really helps you to forecast and also put enough money aside for your product.
Yeah, and you've got to start
inventory.
Figure out like, what sale, it's a whole cycle of, what sales do you want to achieve? So therefore, how much product do you need there? And how much product do you have available? So then when do you need to get new product again? And do you have the money allocated for that product again? So that whole cash flow issue. And it might mean, okay, well, we need more to be able to project to get these sales that we projected. Therefore, we need to, work on some factors, whether it is, as you say, marketing or other things putting in place to generate enough to have money into that particular account to pay for the next delivery.
Exactly. And so what we do with a product-based business is we have your income account. We take off your cost of sales first and your GST, and then what is left over is the revenue that you have to operate the business into your, profit owners pay. So we take off the cost of sales first, because the reality is you need to be buying those products to make that profit. It doesn't mean that it's a free for all and we're like, okay, just spend every dollar there, but it's getting that percentage right and making sure that your margins are right and allocating enough to be able to scale, as well as, fill past stock.
And that's something as well that I think not enough people actually know what their gross profit margin even is. So when I work with the product-based businesses, it's really about, obviously they've got a different retail margin to a wholesale margin if they're doing both, or also a distributor if they're using that as well. So figuring out what yours is, and I mean, I don't know if you have a figure there exactly, but it should definitely be no more than sort of like 20 to 40% of your total sales at the absolute most. I'm not sure what you start.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So we're starting our own product-based business at the moment. We're launching over in the States, and I've been doing a lot of research into product-based business as well. And with my cash flow analysis, I see that if it's 50%, like if your cost of sales is 50% of your total revenue, it's going to be difficult for you.
Very difficult.
It's going to be difficult. So it needs to be below that. So 30% seems quite good. 40% is getting high. 50% is like, because the thing is, it's hard because costs have risen. Everything's risen. And regardless, you need to have enough money to operate the business for ads, and because ad spend is usually quite high as well, which we need that generally.
Absolutely. And this is where it is a bit tough for some people who have physical retail stores if they're buying other branded products, because often their margin is
set
50 or lower. So it's really, and that's where they need bigger volume than, say, an online store sometimes, because they need to generate that in that way. But also, I always talk about trying to make sure that it's above 50, even if it is close to 50, but trying to get it above 50 by having extra margin. Some products in your store that are extra margin.
Yeah, and the thing is, a lot of people can get overwhelmed because they've got so many products, and, each individual product has its own margin, and it's good to do that to make sure that, as many of those products as possible are over that 50%. But then what you really want to look at is overall. So at the end of the day, on your profit and loss, what is the overarching cost of sales percentage? Because they'll all kind of come in together, and then you'll see what that average is.
That's right.
That's what you really want to look at.
That you're selling of each individual piece or category or whatever it might be.
Exactly.
Okay, so starting, if they're all in, they should definitely go all in with all the accounts, 5 or 6, depends on what sort of business they are. And then if they're sort of like, I need to start this, I'm not sure what to do, you just suggest starting with those first two, the tax and the expenses.
Yeah, I think definitely start with your own income account. So separate the income account from your expenses, because that gives you more control over your cash flow. Because how often does you open up your bank account, the money that's coming is already gone with expenses. So you lose control. So by having a separate income account, you then, you're the one that has to transfer into your accounts. So then you've got that control back, and you can actually see your money, and it helps you to have more of an understanding of how much money you're actually earning. But I would, if you really want to start small, I'd have an income account, I would have a tax account, and an expenses account. I'd really like you to open a profit account too, but I know that I'm overwhelming people.
But obviously that's where people like you can help as well. There's profit first professionals for this reason. So actually people can understand how to do it and how to set it up. And there's obviously profit first bookkeepers and, as you said, accountants who fully endorse this sort of system as well.
Exactly. And I want to tell people that, trust me, I can't believe that I'm in this position talking about numbers now. And I promise you it's actually not hard. Like I can read the financial health of any business, whether it's a multi-million-dollar business or a startup, in like 20 minutes. So don't think it's above your head. You're not going to be able to get it. I promise you it's so simple. You just need someone to give you the step-by-step method. You can understand your financial health in 20 minutes after someone's shown you how to do it, and then you can allocate your cash flow. It takes about 10 minutes a week or fortnight if you want to do it. It's not a huge thing. The most annoying thing is actually just opening up your bank accounts and swapping, where your revenue is coming into, or swapping whether your expenses are coming out of. And look, that is annoying, but you can fix that. You can handle that in half a day usually, and that time is so well spent on giving you financial clarity, stability, and your numbers don't lie. It's going to tell you how you're going and what you need to shift. So it's worth it, trust me.
Yeah. And I think that's as well, like when you go into and dive into what your expenses are, it gives you that opportunity to go, well, do I need that subscription? Do I need to have that particular thing? Like, I forgot that I actually was still paying for that, or whatever it might be. It really gives you that opportunity to review everything as well.
Yeah, like most of us are operating on autopilot, and we've done things and we're busy and we just keep doing the things that we've always been doing. But when you actually see it there in front of you, it's really easy to see what's not working, what can just be cut straight away. Usually businesses can cut 10 to 15% of expenses just like that.
You talked about product businesses having that inconsistent cash flow. Like that is definitely something that, or especially if people wholesale and things like that, like really big fluctuations in their sales. So how do you help manage that as well?
Yeah, again, it's working on averages. So understanding over the 12-month period, what is your average percentage, and then making sure that you're putting money aside. There's two ways you can go about it. By using your average, which is like an average over 12 months, you're being conservative. So, when you have really big trade, say over the Christmas period in your December, and you're not going and spending all of that money, you're kind of sticking to your average percentages, which means in those months you're actually putting more aside in your product account and more aside in your operating expenses and your owner's pay and things like that, so that it averages out over time. So you should still have money sitting in your operating expenses in the lower months. If you find that it's just you want to kind of protect yourself even more, you can open something called a drip account. And then put a percentage of cash flow in that drip account, particularly in the higher months, which means there's a pool of money there to draw from in the lower trading periods. So there's a couple of ways that you go about it. The other thing is just say owner's pay, and this just came up for me when I was talking about that. So say, for example, you've got your average percentages. In your owner's pay account, we're paying you a percentage into that account. You still have your set rate of what you're going to pay yourself every week. So it might not be in the highest trading months. We don't need to get carried away and pay ourselves an extra $2,000, even though that would be nice. You kind of stick to that $1,000 a week, whatever it is. And then there should be money still in that account because you've been putting more of a percentage away for those lower months as well. The way that we set ourselves up with the profit account is it's actually, you get a bonus at the end of every quarter. Which is really cool. It's to reward the business owner for all of the hard work that they do. And I find that that's really motivating to think about what you can buy with the money that's sitting in that profit account, whether it's a new handbag or a holiday for your family. It's pretty cool.
It's that incentive. Yeah, I love it. And I guess that's it, like really changing the way you view that, where the money is and what it looks like. You're looking at the different accounts you're looking at to see where you're at, as opposed to, just looking at that one account, because it doesn't give you that true picture, because it doesn't account for everything else.
It doesn't. And when you break we like to break our numbers down month to month so we can see the trends month to month. And then when you do that and you're looking at it every, say, 2 months, you get to know your business and the fluctuations in your business. So you just become more of a wise spender, because you know that if you're going crazy with the spending in December, for example, and I'm not talking about on stock, I'm talking about in other areas, you know what you're doing to the months that are lower. So you've got more awareness. And I like to say, even for myself, because I'm a marketer's dream and I understand money now, right? So it doesn't stop me always from making rash decisions, but I know what I'm doing now. And that's far better than running blind like I used to.
Yeah. Well, I think when a lot of people who go into business, they're not going in because they understand all those numbers or understand the business. They understand a product or they understand a service. So it's definitely a skill that I think definitely people who have been in business a while, whether it's the same business or multiple ones like yourself and I, like you've learned so much from what you didn't know. And that's the reason I do what I do now as well, because there's so many things I wish I'd knew that. I wish I'd done that for my retail store, or when I had my brand, I'd wish I'd allocated money in this way. So for me, I'm like really trying to make sure people do understand their numbers, understand the profitability of their business, because I just focus on that I don't want you to be looking just at your top line sales, because it's about how much you actually get to keep at the end of the day. And if you've managed all the different things in your business well, so that you actually, are profitable.
Yeah, that's right. And I just kind of think if you're able to pay yourself from your business, have a profit at the end of the day and comfortably pay your expenses, then you're doing really, really well. Yeah. And then you can do more of that. But it's just getting people to that point where they've got the balance right in their business.
Yep. Okay. So what are the first steps businesses should take now,
The first thing is getting an understanding of your numbers. So know how to download your profit and loss and your balance sheet, and then work out what your percentages are. And I hate saying that because I hate for that to be a plug for me. Like, let me teach you. I'm not the only profit first professional out there, but we do break it down in a really simple way for you. And that's the first step, because we need to know what's going on to be able to then move forward. And so usually from there, we get you to set up your bank accounts and take those steps to then start implementing the cash flow system into your business. Yep. And then it's about taking that action. So some of you are going to have to cut expenses. Some of you are going to need to increase your prices. Some of you are going to need to focus on marketing and bring more cash flow in the door, because all of the other areas are right. You're not spending too much. Your prices don't need to change, but you're actually just not bringing enough cash flow in. So there becomes that action piece of
what's the
depending
focus?
On your business, what's the focus for you? And so they're usually the three things that happen. And then every quarter we do another cash flow analysis and retweak our numbers. But it's pretty simple. Like, you can have this set up in your business in a couple of weeks.
Well, and as we said, it's a perfect time to do it. So it's a perfect time to review and to really analyse and to understand where you're at and what you need to do differently.
Yeah. And as I said, don't get overwhelmed by that cash flow analysis. Like, you can literally understand it in 20 minutes. It's just downloading your reports, learning how to highlight over the numbers to see what your averages are, and then putting it in, like, just being like, okay, so what is my percentage of my revenue in my expenses and my owner's pay? And it's just 5 numbers basically.
And just going back a little bit, because I know that it's a few clients that I work with who don't even have good accounting systems. So obviously that's one thing that they need to have if they haven't. So do you recommend like Xero or any, particular, or it doesn't really matter as long as they've got a system?
Yeah, look, you can manually calculate your percentages. But so if you don't have accounting software right now, don't think that you're doomed and you can't do this. You absolutely can. And it's just a bit more of a manual way to go about it, and understanding how much you're spending in different areas. I definitely though think that every single business owner should have accounting software, because it just gives you information at your fingertips, and it's not difficult and it's not overly expensive, and we need to take our finances seriously. So I love Xero, only because I really use it all the time. But because I do cash flow analysis on lots of different businesses, I get to see majority of them, and they're all roughly the same. Look, really the two reports that we need to look at is our profit and loss and our balance sheet. They're the two main reports, and every software will have those two reports. And we just want to know that we've got the capability to basically export into a Google sheet or into an Excel sheet month to month information on our profit and loss. So we want to see it month to month. And then our balance sheet, we're just looking at it from the year before. It's really as simple as that. There's also this new one, and I don't come and sue me, ASIC, because I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about recommending financial products, which I don't know. I don't know where it lies there, but what the hell, they can come and find me. There is a new one that's just come out called Friday, and it actually is profit first have worked very closely
with the system. Okay.
Yeah, they've worked with the team, and there's a bookkeeping element to it, and then there's also a software, like an accounting software element, and then there's also you can have your bank accounts set up in there as well, which makes it really easy to manage. I think you can even automate your percentages so that it automatically allocates from your income account into your other account. You set it every week, and it will automatically do it. So that's a new one. I haven't personally looked into it myself, but I know that the Profit First, they're all raving about it. The Profit First professionals are all raving about it.
Okay, so look out for that one.
Something to look into anyway. Yeah.
Okay, so anything else that you wanted to share with everyone? Like I think that, as you said, like get started. Understand where you're at, because you'll be able to grow and manage everything in your business much better if you've got a clear picture of what's going on.
Yeah, I think you said that really well. And I think just the last thing to keep in mind, and you touched on it before, is that revenue doesn't mean profit. And sometimes we get into this mindset of thinking that, when I earn $20,000 a month or $30,000 a month or $40,000 a month, that's when everything's going to be easier.
Yes.
And I can promise you that unless you've got your finger on the pulse with your numbers, it's not going to be the case, because as our income increases, so do our expenses, because our responsibilities increase. We're sending out more orders. We probably need more staff. We need more product. We need more of packaging. We need more everything.
Yeah.
So I don't say that to scare you, but don't get into the trap of thinking that it's just about revenue, because I do work with multi-million-dollar businesses that are not profitable at all, and their business could fall down any month, because they haven't got a handle on it. So just realize that it's not all about revenue. It's definitely about understanding the balance between your expenses and what's coming in. And just lastly, I'll say it one more time, it's not hard to do it. So please don't think that, I'm not a numbers person, so I'm just going to not even try. That's a mindset and a belief that's not true, because trust me, I used to hide from my bills. I was the last person
getting those phone calls from suppliers like, you owe money. I'm like, oh no.
Again. Seriously, I'd be like, no. Yeah. So you've got this.
And I think another thing there is that it's never too early or too late in your business. So
100%.
Wherever you're at, if you're just starting out, start out this way. If you've been going for 5 years, or whatever it might be, it's never too late to sort of get a handle on it. So no matter where you are in your journey, you can definitely start doing it.
Yeah, I work with people that have been in business for 20 years, and they're like, oh my goodness, if only I knew about this sooner. And you can always say that. Like, I've said that a million times with different decisions that I've made, but it's all about they know now, and they can put those changes in place now. And it doesn't, whatever you focus on, where your attention goes, energy flows, right?
Yes.
So if you're putting your attention in on doing things differently, you're making better decisions. It's such a big flow-on effect of additional abundance coming into your life. And it doesn't take long to get yourself out of sticky situations, as long as you face it head on and you're willing to make the changes and take the action. It's really inspiring to see actually some of the transformations that business owners have made in 3-4 months. It's crazy.
On where people can find you, like where else can they read? Should they be reading the book? Actually, that was my question. Should they be reading the book first, or it's not an essential, obviously, to get started?
It's not an essential to get started, but it's always great to read the book and to have it there, particularly when you're implementing it. I still find myself going back to the book.
I keep flicking
multiple times. So definitely it's a great manual to have, and it's going to really give you the foundations of why it works and, how it was created and, all of the basics of Profit First. If you want to tailor it to your business and have someone to help you, you can go to my website. It's amybett.com, amybett.com. And I've actually got a free training on there. It's a free masterclass that you can sign up and watch.
Yep.
And I give you the 4 steps of implementing it into your business. And I go into detail about the bank accounts and percentages and all of the kind of tips and tricks to help you get on your way.
Fabulous. I'll link all that in the show notes and everything as well. That's been so great. Thank you so much for being here, Amy, and sharing so much knowledge with everyone. And just get started. Never too late. Definitely get going, and it could transform how you run your business and everything that, the success of your business as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Mel.
Thank you so much for listening to the Lotco Business Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you subscribe to receive future episodes as they are released. And I'd be so grateful for a review on Apple Podcast. If you would like a copy of the show notes or any of the links mentioned today, please jump onto my website at thelotco.com.au/podcast. Have an amazing week, and I look forward to chatting to you again soon.